The chosen one. The storm raged inside you, and though the world saw calm skies, you could feel thunder rolling beneath your ribs. You were never meant to walk an easy path. The day you were born, the heavens whispered a command: endure. Not survive, but endure. There's a difference. Survival is what the body does. Endurance is what the soul remembers. You didn't ask for this weight, yet it found you. From the moment you first fell and tasted the dust of defeat, something ancient inside refused to let you stay down. It wasn't pride. It was something deeper, something older, a pulse echoing through generations, a whisper that said, "Rise again." Every time life broke you, you thought it was punishment. But now, as you look back, you see the truth. Each scar was a signature of divine craftsmanship. You were being forged. Fire never apologizes for burning the steel it strengthens. And neither should you apologize for the pain that built your endurance. But the question haunted you, didn't it? Why me? Why must I be the one who carries the storm? Why do others seem to float through life, while I am dragged through its fire? You asked. And the silence answered. That silence became your teacher. You learned that endurance isn't loud. It doesn't shout, doesn't demand applause. It breathes quietly in the dark, holding faith when reason has fled. It's in the trembling hands that still reach out. It's in the voice that whispers, "Not yet," when everything screams, "Give up." You stood where others fell, not because you were stronger, but because your soul refused to forget its promise. You are not meant to be unbroken. You are meant to be rebuilt, again and again, into something unshakable. There were days when you doubted even that truth. Nights when you stared into the mirror and saw not a warrior, but a fracture of the person you once were. You tried to pray, but your prayers came out as questions. You tried to believe, but belief felt heavy, like a stone sinking in your chest. Still, something kept you moving. A voice, not loud, but persistent, whispered, "Keep walking." And so you did. Through betrayal, through disappointment, through the loneliness that felt like eternity carved in silence. Each step carved your spirit deeper, made you feel more, made you see more. The world cannot break what it no longer controls. Endurance, you learned, isn't about winning. It's about staying when everything else leaves. It's about holding the thread of hope when it frays in your hands. It's about walking through your personal hell and realizing that even there, especially there, you can still choose faith. But faith is not constant. There were moments when you cursed the heavens, when you wanted to lay it all down and say, "I've done enough," yet something within the fire you never asked for would not let you rest. Because this world still needed your strength. Someone out there needed to see you rise again, to be reminded that endurance is contagious. There is a hidden symmetry in suffering. Every trial shapes a new part of you, chisels away the unnecessary, and exposes the divine blueprint beneath your fear. The more you broke, the more light seeped through your cracks. You became both wound and healer, both the one who bleeds and the one who mends. And maybe that's what endurance truly is, the quiet merging of pain and purpose. Now, listen, when the night feels endless and the weight of your world presses down like unseen chains, remember this: you are not the result of your breaking. You are the echo of your rising. This life was never meant to be gentle with you. You were chosen to be tested, to be tempered, to show the rest of us what strength looks like when stripped of comfort. You are the reminder that even when all light seems gone, endurance itself is a form of light. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your persistence. It needs your unyielding refusal to let despair have the final word. So rise again, not because it's easy, but because you've already survived the impossible. Rise again, because the story isn't over. Rise again, because someone watching you will find their strength in your fire. You are the endurer. The storm was never sent to destroy you, it was sent to reveal you. And when you feel that truth stirring deep inside, write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign of your divine alignment, the chosen one. You feel what others cannot bear to feel. You carry what others have long since set down. You were not made of stone, but of water flowing, shifting, endlessly mirroring the pain and beauty around you. You are the empath soul, destined to love so deeply that sometimes it breaks you. It begins with silence. You walk into a room and the air changes. The laughter feels hollow, the smiles painted. You sense the hidden grief beneath the surface. Others call it intuition. but you know it's more. It's as if your heart was tuned to the frequencies of invisible sorrow. You don't just hear pain, you absorb it. You tell yourself it's a gift. But there are nights when it feels more like a curse, because every tear you wipe away leaves another mark upon your own soul. Every secret you hold becomes a quiet ache in your chest, and every time you say, "I'm fine," you know it's a lie whispered in the language of exhaustion. There is a cost to caring too deeply. You give until your light flickers. You heal until your hands tremble. You love until you forget how to recognize your own reflection. And yet, something within insists that this is your purpose: to feel, to heal, to restore. But tell me, how do you save others when you're the one drowning in their storms? For years, you mistook sacrifice for love. You believed that to help others, you must suffer with them. You gave your heart away piece by piece, thinking that empathy meant emptiness. You confused compassion with martyrdom, forgetting that even healers bleed. You began to fade. The world grew heavier. You felt invisible, even as you carried the emotions of everyone around you. Your light dimmed, but you smiled anyway, convincing yourself that the pain was proof of your goodness. And then, one night, it happened. You looked at yourself in the mirror, eyes hollow, hands trembling from holding too much of the world, and a voice inside whispered not from outside, but from the very depths of your being. You are not here to save everyone. You are here to remember yourself. Those words shook you. They sounded selfish, but they were sacred, because empathy without boundaries becomes erosion. Love without balance becomes self-destruction. That night, you made a quiet vow. You would no longer pour from an empty vessel. You would learn the sacred art of stillness, of saying no, of standing in your light even when others begged for your shadow. You realized that healing the world begins with healing yourself. And yet, the path was not simple. You felt guilt clawing at you. Every time you rested, you heard the cries of those still in pain. Every time you drew a boundary, you feared you were betraying your purpose. You stood between two worlds, the one that begged for your compassion and the one that demanded your preservation. You learned that balance is not peace, it's war. A war between your instinct to give and your need to breathe. A war between your empathy and your essence. Through that war, something beautiful emerged. You discovered that your heart could still be open, but no longer exposed. You could listen without absorbing, love without losing, guide without collapsing. You realized that the light you offer shines brighter when it's protected. Now, you no longer seek to rescue others, you invite them to rise beside you. You no longer heal to feel worthy, you heal because you remember who you are. You've transformed your pain into wisdom, your wounds into windows of compassion. And though the world may never understand your quiet battles, you walk forward with grace. Because you've learned that empathy is not about carrying every burden, it's about reminding others that they were never alone. The chosen one does not lose their light by shining for themselves. They amplify it, and in that glow, others find their way. So when you feel the tears of others within your chest, pause, breathe, whisper this truth. My love is sacred, and so am I. You are the vessel, not the void. If you feel this truth, hit like and subscribe. You are awakening to your divine alignment. Next comes the seeker, the restless soul, who walks the fine line between knowledge and chaos, wisdom and madness. The one who dares to question even the divine. The chosen one, you have never known stillness. Even in silence, your mind travels across unseen worlds, chasing truths that others fear to ask. You are the seeker, the one who questions even the light that guides you. You are not content to believe. You must know. You must understand the pattern beneath the pain, the purpose behind every ending. But that hunger comes at a cost. You were born with eyes that refuse to look away. From an early age, you saw too much: the cracks in certainty, the contradictions in faith, the trembling behind the smiles of those who claimed to know truth. While others accepted, you dissected. While others prayed, you doubted. Yet your doubt was not rebellion. It was reverence in disguise, the kind of faith that demands proof through experience, not blind acceptance. You walked between worlds, the sacred and the skeptical. Each path called to you. Each voice claimed to hold the final answer. But every revelation only led to another question. And soon you realized there is no final answer. Only layers, infinite and unfolding. It began to wear you down. You thought knowledge would free you, but instead, it chained you to endless curiosity. You read, studied, meditated, traveled. You sought gurus, prophets, teachers, yet the more wisdom you gathered, the less certain you became. You started to fear your own thoughts. The mirror became an enemy, reflecting 1,000 unfinished versions of who you could be. You envied the ones who believed without question, whose peace came from surrender. You tried to surrender too, but your soul resisted. You couldn't pretend not to see. You couldn't close your eyes to the truth that every answer was both illumination and illusion. You reached a breaking point. One night, staring into the dark sky, you whispered to the stars, "If there is a truth, show me." And in that moment, silence spoke back, not in words, but in realization. The truth was never hidden. It was never out there. It had always been the one who was asking. You are the question, you are the seeker and the sought. The stars did not owe you an answer, because you were the answer trying to remember itself. That night changed you. You stopped searching for certainty and began searching for connection. You realized that wisdom is not in knowing everything, it's in knowing how little we truly can. You began to see that humility is not weakness, but the final stage of knowledge. The wise do not proclaim they listen. They bow to mystery, yet the world does not always reward that humility. You found yourself misunderstood again. People mistook your silence for arrogance, your curiosity for rebellion. You tried to explain that you weren't challenging faith, you were trying to feel it beyond dogma. You were trying to hear God in the spaces where language breaks, but words failed you. And so you learned the language of quiet. You began to understand the sacred art of unlearning, the courage to release even your most cherished beliefs when they no longer fit the soul you're becoming. And still, the restlessness remains. It no longer torments you, but it hums softly beneath your skin, reminding you that growth is not a destination, it's a pulse. The seeker never arrives, because to arrive is to die. To stop seeking is to stop becoming. Your gift is not in finding answers, it's in asking better questions. Your calling is not to preach, but to awaken the hunger in others. You are the lantern in a darkened temple, lighting paths not by certainty, but by wonder. Every doubt you face is sacred. Every unanswered question is a doorway. And every moment you kneel in confusion, heaven leans closer to listen. So when your faith trembles, do not fear. Trembling faith is living faith. It grows through movement, not stagnation. You are not lost, chosen one. You are simply unfolding. Keep asking, keep burning, keep walking, and when you cannot see the road ahead, trust that the road sees you. Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign that your path of seeking is awakening your higher vision. Next comes the artisan, the one who turns pain into creation and silence into beauty. The one who learns that art itself is a form of prayer. The chosen one, creation has always called to you, not as a whisper, but as a pulse beneath your skin. You are the artisan, the weaver of light from shadow, the sculptor of meaning from the raw stone of existence. While others speak with words, you speak with form, with sound, with motion. You are not just an artist. You are the language through which the divine expresses itself. But you did not always know this. For a long time, your gift felt like a curse. You saw beauty in everything, even in pain, and the world mocked you for it. They said you were too sensitive, too dreamy, too lost in illusions. They told you art was a luxury, not survival. But you knew deep down they were wrong. Because for you, creation is survival. It's the way you breathe when words fail, the way you pray when silence becomes unbearable. There were nights when you stared at a blank canvas, trembling. You wanted to create, but you feared it wouldn't be enough. The perfectionism burned you from the inside out. You tried to capture meaning, but every stroke, every word, felt small compared to the immensity of what you felt within. You wondered, what if my creation never matters? What if my art is seen by no one? But the truth is, the divine never asked you to be perfect, it asked you to be honest. The universe doesn't measure the worth of art by applause, it measures it by sincerity, by the courage it takes to reveal your soul, by the truth you dare to carve out of chaos. Every imperfect line, every trembling note, every faltering brushstroke, it all matters, because it carries your essence, your humanity, your divine fingerprint. Still, doubt lingered. The artisan's path is lonely. You began to envy those who live without the ache of creation, people who wake, work, sleep, and never feel haunted by visions of beauty unmade. But you were cursed with awareness. You could not unsee the colors of the unseen world. You tried to stop once. You put down your pen, your brush, your instrument. You told yourself it was time to be practical, but days turned hollow. The air thickened. It felt like you were fading from your own story. Because you were never meant to live without creation, it is the oxygen of your soul. And when you finally returned to it, it wasn't with ambition but surrender. You no longer wanted to impress. You wanted to belong. You understood that art was never about mastery, it was about communion. Each time you create, you converse with eternity. Each time you shape beauty from pain, you heal something unseen in yourself and in the world. Creation became prayer, art became meditation, and you, once broken by doubt, became a vessel of divine translation. But even now, shadows test you. You create, and people misunderstand. They call your work strange, your vision too abstract, your emotion too heavy. Yet, the divine never promised understanding, it promised purpose. You begin to realize your role is not to please the world, but to mirror it, to show it its forgotten light. You were sent to remind humanity that beauty is not decoration, it is transformation. Through your art, pain finds voice. Through your craft, chaos finds form. Through your hands, the infinite finds a home. And when despair returns, whisper this truth: I am not creating for approval. I am creating because creation itself keeps me alive. The artisan does not wait for the world's permission to be divine. You already are. So create even when no one is watching. Paint when your hands shake. Write when your words falter. Dance when the world stands still. Because your art is not just expression, it is evidence that something eternal breathes through you. When your doubt whispers, answer softly: I am the bridge between heaven and earth. I am the echo of creation remembering itself. And as you breathe those words, know that you are not alone. Somewhere, someone will see your work and feel less broken. Someone will find hope because you dared to reveal your soul. If you feel that truth stirring in your hands, write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign that your creative spirit is awakening its higher purpose. The chosen one. The world moves fast, but you were never meant to follow its rhythm. You are the mystic, the watcher between worlds, the wanderer of the unseen. Where others see coincidence, you see pattern. Where others hear silence, you hear the hum of eternity. You do not belong entirely to this world, yet you walk within it, carrying the light of another realm. It began long ago, before you had language for it. You noticed things the way shadows seemed to breathe, the way dreams whispered truths you couldn't explain. You were called strange, detached, maybe even lost. But you were never lost. You were listening. You learned early that wisdom often hides in contradiction, that faith is not found in certainty, but in surrender, that the divine is not only above, but within, and that sometimes the most sacred revelation comes not in thunder, but in quiet, fragile stillness. But stillness frightened you at first. It felt like emptiness, like absence. You tried to fill it with noise, with knowledge, with rituals, with movement. Yet the more you filled it, the further you drifted from the truth, until one night, when exhaustion became surrender, and surrender became silence. In that silence, something shifted. You felt the presence not as a vision, not as a voice, but as a deep remembering. The realization came slowly. The divine had never been distant. It had always been breathing through you. You wept then not from sadness, but from recognition. You saw that every pain, every loss, every unanswered prayer was not punishment, but invitation. Every void had been preparing you for this to sit with nothing and still feel everything. You began to walk differently after that. The world still looked the same, but it felt different. You could sense invisible threads connecting all things, every heartbreak, every sunrise, every face that passed you by. You realized that nothing is random, that even chaos is choreography. But enlightenment is never final. You soon discovered the other side of vision, the loneliness that comes with it. Once you've seen beyond the surface, it's hard to return to ordinary conversation. People talk of success, you think of meaning. They chase validation, you chase silence. They ask for proof, you ask for peace. You began to question whether awakening was a blessing or a burden. You longed for connection, but found yourself isolated by insight. You prayed for understanding, but few could meet you there. So you withdrew, not in bitterness, but in reverence. In solitude, you found your sanctuary. But solitude is not isolation, it is clarity. You learn to listen not only to the world, but to your own soul. And in that listening, the mystical revealed itself again and again. Not through miracles, but through small moments of grace. A stranger's kindness, a sudden breeze, a quiet knowing. You began to see that spirituality is not about escaping life, it's about entering it completely. To live mystically is to see the divine pulse even in suffering. To touch eternity through the ordinary. There were nights when the divine felt distant again, when your faith wavered. You wondered if it had all been illusion. You questioned everything, the visions, the synchronicities, even your own mind. But in that very questioning, you found the next doorway. Because the mystic's faith is not about never doubting, it's about staying through the doubt. Faith is not the absence of darkness, it's the courage to sit inside it until your eyes adjust to the stars. You are both student and sage, both seeker and silence, both human and infinite. The divine moves through you, not because you are perfect, but because you are porous. You let the mystery breathe through your cracks. You let life speak through your pauses. And though others may never fully understand you, you must remember, the mystic's purpose is not to be understood, it is to understand. So you walk quietly, gently, holding wisdom like a flame cupped in your hands. Fragile, flickering, yet eternal. You guide without preaching. You heal without claiming. You love without needing to be known. When the night feels too vast, remember, your soul was carved for the infinite. You are not lost in the darkness. You are the light that knows its way home. Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign that your spirit is awakening its ancient knowing. Next comes the Hermit, the keeper of solitude, the one who learns that isolation is not emptiness, but transformation, and that in stillness lies the birth of divine wisdom. The chosen one. The world has grown loud, and in its noise, you have learned the sacred art of retreat. You are the Hermit, the one who walks away not to escape, but to return more whole. The one who understands that solitude is not the absence of life, but its echo, its deeper rhythm. While others chase the crowd, you chase the quiet, because somewhere deep inside, you have always known the divine speaks in whispers, not applause. You were not always at peace with your solitude. At first, it felt like punishment. The rooms too empty, the nights too long. You watched others build connections while you sat alone, questioning why your path seemed so narrow, so still. But what you called loneliness was initiation. Every silence you endured was teaching you to listen differently, not to words, but to the subtle heartbeat of existence itself. There were days when you doubted this calling, when isolation felt like exile, and you asked the heavens, "Why must I walk alone?" The answer came, not in thunder, but in a quiet realization. To find the divine, one must first find the self, and the self can only be heard in stillness. So you stayed. You stopped running from your own company. You began to notice the way light bends in the morning, the soft breath between thoughts, the steady rhythm of your own heart. Slowly, the silence that once frightened you began to feel sacred. You discovered that the universe is not out there, it is within. You learned that solitude is not the opposite of love, it is the birthplace of it, because only those who have met themselves in silence can truly meet another, in truth. But even in that peace, temptation remained. The world kept calling you back voices, saying you were wasting your time, that life was meant to be louder, faster, more visible. You tried to re-enter that rhythm, but every step into the noise made your soul ache. You realized that your solitude wasn't a weakness, it was your sanctuary. Still, you were not meant to stay hidden forever. The hermit's journey is not permanent withdrawal, it is the gathering of wisdom for the sake of return. You were meant to descend into silence, yes, but also to emerge, carrying light for others, because what you found in solitude was never meant only for you. You began to see the divine symmetry of it all. The endurer learns to rise through pain. The empath learns to feel without breaking. The seeker learns to question without losing faith. The artisan learns to create without fear. The mystic learns to see through the veil. And you, the hermit, learn to be still, to hold all of their voices within your heart and listen to the deeper harmony beneath them. In solitude, you become the mirror of the entire journey. You hold every archetype, every truth, every contradiction. And when you emerge, you do not speak as a preacher, you speak as one who remembers. You remind others that peace was never lost. It was only hidden beneath the noise. Your words carry a different weight now. You no longer rush to convince. You no longer chase recognition. You have nothing to prove, because the stillness within you has become your proof. You walk with quiet authority, and the world feels it. Those who are ready for truth will find you not through your noise, but through your silence. And still, your journey is not done. For the Hermit, enlightenment is not an ending, it is a circle. The more you see, the more you return to humility. The more light you carry, the more you understand the value of shadow. The deeper you go within, the more connected you feel to all things. In your stillness, you begin to hear a new voice, not from above, but from within. It whispers not of destiny, but of choice. It reminds you that being chosen was never about power, it was about awareness. You were never called to stand above others, but to walk among them, seeing with gentler eyes. So now you step forward again, not as the seeker you once were, but as the silent flame that guides the lost. You no longer need to speak loudly. Your presence is enough. Your calm becomes a beacon, your solitude a lesson, your peace a mirror for others to find their own. The chosen one was never a title, it was a remembrance. And you have remembered. Now, wherever you go, you carry the stillness of the mountains, the patience of rivers, the depth of stars. You are no longer searching for the divine. You are the divine, remembering itself through human form. When you breathe, the universe breathes with you. When you are still, creation listens, and so it ends, not with triumph, but with quiet revelation. You were never alone. You were always home. Write 333 inches the comments. It's a prophetic sign that your inner light has fully awakened. And if this truth has stirred something deep within your heart, stay. There is more to come. The next story begins where silence meets purpose, where the hermit steps back into the world, not as a seeker, but as a guide.